This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to what has proven to be an already hectic start to the Final Round Podcast tonight. We had a phone go down just as we were getting ready to go live. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited for this one. We've got Mike and Sarah OC from the National No Prep Racing Association going to be on the air with us tonight. Jason, making the trip in. Was a common, easy trip on the ride in today, huh?
Oh, it was it was really great, and all the pouring rain that had to drive through. I just saw a post by Kathy Kiekel saying that we had like 3 inches or something like that in the last 3 hours, and it's been coming down. So hopefully we can get all this rain out of the way before the weekend and before some of the real big events start heating up here at Empire the next couple of weeks.
One of the big events that we're going to be talking about is that no prep race that's scheduled for July 7th through the 9th. Michael C. and Sarah are going to be working close with that one. Guys, welcome to the show. I'm glad you could make some time for us tonight. I appreciate it.
Hello, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. We're looking forward to having a talk with you a little bit about the No Prep series. Tell us a little bit more about it and how it got started.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry, my connection got a little bit hazy there.
Okay, no problem. Can you hear me a little bit better that way?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect. I just wondered if you could share with us a little bit before we dive too deep into the Empire leg of this, if we could just kind of learn a little bit more about what the No Prep Racing Association is, where you guys reach out to. I saw you guys were based out of Texas, and you've got 179,000 likes on Facebook. Obviously, your social media marketing is working for you just fine. What is it? And give us kind of the introduction of what we got to know about the No Prep Racing Association.
Yeah, not a problem. Well, we started off, first of all, a lot younger, and I did a lot of street racing in Mexico, and that scene quickly you realize that it's unsafe. So I decided I used to watch a lot of underground videos on YouTube of a Chicago scene called King of the Streets, and it's held annually by Heyo Steve and Tread Eckhart up there. They're doing incredible things for No Prep, and that's where the original No Prep first originated from, was at Great Lakes Dragway, in Union Grove, Wisconsin. So I grew up watching those videos, and I was a huge fan of No Prep because they kind of reminded me of a street race. I normally gravitated towards wanting to go to events, but the problem that I had was it wasn't close to my area. So financially speaking, I couldn't be traveling half across the United States to go see a street race. If I had it a lot closer, then I would be able to. So
right.
Fast forward a couple years more, I saw an advertisement for a no prep race in Texas. Apparently, there was a no prep racing going on in Texas, and I was really excited to go check it out. And it was called the Redemption No Prep in Kennedale, Texas, and it was amazing. It was held annually by Shannon Craig Morgan from Morgan and Sons Engines up in Grand Prairie, Texas, and she was doing amazing things with No Prep there. So I was hooked after her show at Redemption in Kennedale. I told myself, this is what I want to do. I want to go travel everywhere I can, find every No Prep, and videotape it, take photos, and basically document my experiences with No Prep. And this is where my Facebook came about. I honestly never thought anybody would get on it and see my documentation. Little did I know, shortly after I created it, I had the likes jumping and people messaging me and telling me I'm in Puerto Rico, and I love this stuff. I don't even know where you're at, but I love the racing. I love those street outlaws. I love these turbo cars that have some crazy setups, and I was amazed. I was blown away by the support I got from fans actually following the National No Prep page. So I started off as more as a media company, and I still consider myself a media company. Just recently, I've been dipping my hand into trying to help promote these events via social media, handing out flyers, doing it grassroots, making it to the basics, just like the old days where if there's a drag race, you saw a poster on a telephone post. I basically cater to those type of people because I believe No Prep audience is actually that type of people. It's the working class,
right?
People who really enjoy the automotive world. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Now, when did this start, Mike? What? I mean, how many years ago are we talking about here that this started?
I started off in 2014. So
wow.
We're in 2017, 3 years, and I've been going at it nonstop. I did it part-time, and now I'm doing it full-time. It has all my attention right now. So this particular event at Empire is our third event that we are just helping out with. We partner up with a tremendous group of people called Race the North, Northern Unlimited, based out of Canada.
Okay.
And between our partnership, we wanted to bring No Prep to Empire. That's a whole different story there, but for this particular event, I partner up with them, but the people who are going to be helping with the race is Jared Thompson, who is the owner of Dig Night Street Night. For the people not familiar with Dig Night, Street Night is a company that has thrown over $100,000 in payouts in the prep racing in Texas. So they are a tremendous company, and we're excited to have them on board to help us run the race efficiently.
Yeah.
And hopefully, at the end of the day, be entertaining for the fans.
Well, I would say I'm sure it will be. I mean, Chris and I are kind of looking at each other. We're really in awe here, quite honestly, Mike, just because of the fact that your organization has existed, let's call it, for 3 years, and it's really amazing.
I don't even know where to begin. I mean,
yeah,
I told them we'd probably have some follow-up questions. It's like, I got about 60 right now.
Yeah. I have to say, it really is incredible, and to have that kind of following over such a short period of time. I mean, one comment I'll make, it's just. I'm sure I'm older than you, and it's one of these things where, we've been told since I was young, look, if there's something that you want to do for a living, just go do it, right? You go do it, and you'll figure out a way to make the money that you need to make to be able to do that as a career. And I mean, cripes, this is a complete testament to that right here, because basically you said, hey, yeah, I like no prep racing. Next thing you know, here you have this Facebook page with 150,000 likes, and you're doing this full time. That's incredible. That's really, really incredible.
I never would have guessed that. I mean, that's.
We definitely thank you for that. I'm Sarah also. I'm kind of his partner in crime, wife. So we thank you a lot. We've definitely had a lot of support and help, not only from the people that follow our page, but also from a lot of the people that are already in the game, like Mike was already mentioning, like Shannon Morgan and Heyo Steve and Jared Thompson, Mike Murillo, and we've been, following their races, and we've really enjoyed becoming part of this family that's really a nationwide family. Everybody kind of gets together and they race each other, but it's competitive. You want to beat each other, but at the end of the day, everybody shakes hands and just has a great time doing what they do. So our whole goal and vision is kind of to unite this no prep racing movement, this really been gaining grounds over the past few years.
Sure has.
And just get kind of unified and solidifying it as a recognized sport, because it's similar to racing that's already done at most tracks, but with a little bit of a different flair that I think is adding a new excitement to the sport of drag racing. I don't know if your viewers or your fans are familiar with no prep in general, because I know this is the first prep that's coming up to Empire.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is definitely the first big race like this that's come up. We've had, let's call it, outlaw style racing, small tire racing, power adder style racing. The Mom series, the Mustang on Mustang series, has been very popular at Empire over the last. I'd say 5 years. It's probably been 10 years, but really, this is the first no prep race that I can remember.
What do you do in terms of making the track no prep? I mean, with all the passes that have been done to the track, have you got to somehow clean the track off so that it's back to square one?
There's a lot of ways to do it, depending on different tracks across the United States that do no prep. But we found that we normally, let's say on a regular test and tune weekend or a bracket program over a weekend, a track would normally scrape the track off of all the excess rubber. Now, we don't do that. What we like to do is sweep the track and prep the top end just in case if a driver gets loose. There's no reason for that side of the track to be no prep. And we normally do not spray the track with any form of track bite or any form of prep to make it really sticky. So it's not really going back to square one. It's actually simulating the conditions you might find on any street.
All right. Well, I follow that. Sure. I mean, I like hearing what you said about preparing the top end, just in case anybody does get loose, they can get the wheel back, and that that's a mindful thing, just in terms of trying to keep everybody safe. Because the last thing you want to do is start tearing up race cars and tearing up bodies. That doesn't do good things for anybody. But this is getting back to a more pure form of racing, and I think it's, with the sounds of things, it's capturing that lightning in a bottle that we've seen with some of the resurgence of street racing, and is putting it in a little bit more safer venue.
No, absolutely. We totally agree. I cannot sit here and take all the credit towards trying to organize something like this without studying and talking to the people who came before me, who's been doing this for a lot longer than we ever have. And that would be Hail Steve up in Chicago with the King of the Streets series that they have up there. He's been doing it for over 10 years doing no prep events. He's been highly successful, and shortly after him was Shannon Morgan from Morgan & Sons. Shannon Morgan is taking it to the next level nationwide. She has a tremendous series called Redemption. She pays out over $120,000 in payouts. And she has classes that are from big tire all the way down to even an index program, where the average racer who runs on a weekend local track, their index program can actually run a no prep in her race. And it's a tremendous amount of support that these fans give these races. So it gives people who are trying this for the first time an opportunity, to do stuff like this as well. I think, in my personal opinion, it's only a matter of time before more no preps are being distributed across the United States. I envision this to be, like my wife said, a type of sport that solidifies itself along with the lines of NRHRA and established organizations that have been around for decades now, So we're hoping that, the fans, we educate them on no prep Just because the word no prep is there does not mean it's an unsafe environment.
Right.
No prep has a pretty dark stigma to it for fans that never gone to an event. But in actuality, no prep is no different from maybe a Tekken 2 night that does not have the track surface extremely sticky. And there's a lot of characters in no prep, you know.
Right.
You see cars that you normally would never see anywhere else in any type of racing.
And there's people that are building their cars now specifically to race no prep races. And some of those guys are the ones that are coming up to kind of introduce no prep to New York, including James Finney with Birdman. He's one of the guys that I think he runs exclusively no prep.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see him on the street a couple times, but he runs exclusively no prep. And then Chuck Parker with the 55, he's been doing exclusively no prep. And Plan B, he runs on the street sometimes like he was on Street Outlaws, but mostly no prep now.
I just want to iterate that when we say they run on the street, they don't actually go to a street and race a car. They've been to the street. That's a closed set, which is on a very famous racing show, Street Outlaws.
Right.
Chuck Parker with the 55 has been been on that particular TV show. So has Birdman recently.
Yep.
And so has Plan B. Plan B was one of the regulars on there that Daddy Dave actually drove his car, the Plan B Corvette.
Right.
All the way to the finals of Cash Days and one of the most popular episodes ever on Street Outlaws. So it's one of those things where these characters, the people relate to. These characters are people that work on their cars, do not have big money teams behind them. They literally drive up to the track just like any bracket racer would on a weekend, and some of them even in an open trailer, and race their car and actually win big money. And these people, when the fans come to a no prep, they'll notice that, oh my goodness, Chuck Parker, Michael Henson with Plan B, people like Birdman, James Finney are actually touching their own car because they actually work on their own car. That's what makes it very relatable, and they actually take the time to greet the fans. And I've actually spent time with these racers, and they are really, really family-orientated people. They will literally drop a wrench to take a picture with a young fan or somebody who really wants to take a picture with them, and they make time for their fans. And, you know, that's what makes No Prep special. What makes No Prep special is the ability to go to a race and have a conversation with what some people consider some of the fastest street cars ever built.
Right.
And they're built by the average blue-collar person, you know?
Yeah, working class. Like, they get off their job and then they're in their shop working on their car all night. So it's really it's been great for us because we've traveled all over the place. And actually, I think you guys had asked before, like, why we chose to come to New York.
Yeah.
So part of it is actually because I am from upstate New York.
Oh, no kidding.
So
Okay.
I was born and raised in the Syracuse area, outside of Syracuse, in a small town called Chittenango. Don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we know where that is.
I'm going over by that Saturday.
So I grew up out there, and then I went to college out in Geneseo. So I was very familiar with the Empire Dragway, and we went to visit my family over the summer, and, you know, we're just the type of people that no matter where we go, we're going to be at a race. So we went up to visit my family, and we we went to Empire, and we just saw the fans and the crowd, and everyone was super excited about the racing that was going on. And we thought, the only thing that's missing here is the no prep, like the heads up, no prep, new style racing, and how excited people got about the racing that was going on and how passionate they are, even when we're interacting with them now. We just knew that if we brought this new style of racing to upstate New York, that there would be an overwhelming response for it, and people would be really excited about seeing something new and experiencing and being able to participate in something new.
Want to send a big welcome out to all the folks that are watching with us on Facebook Live. Hi, everybody. One of the folks tuning in right now, that I believe is a new listener, is I lost him down in North Carolina. The screen moved on me. Let's see if I can get that back quickly. There it is. Martin Richardson, tuning in from North Carolina, watching on Facebook Live. The audio on Facebook Live probably isn't the greatest because we're trying to get everything. This is the first time we tried it, and we'll give credit where it's due. Mike thought it would be a cool idea if we tried to do a little bit of Facebook Live. So, hi everybody, and we appreciate it. He took our live feed and shared all the links that we put out tonight. So National No Prep, doing us a huge favor and sharing everything that we put out today to let all their fans know that they were going to be on final round with us tonight. So that was great. We greatly appreciate that. If you want to watch the rest of the show, if you want to tune in and catch more of it, you can do so. We've been live on this thing for about 15 minutes or so, and I mean the information that's been thrown at us in the first 15 minutes, my head's still spinning.
Yeah.
So you're from upstate New York. Where's Mike from?
I'm from South Texas, a small town called McAllen, Texas. It's I'm really close to the border of Mexico, actually. It's a border town between Mexico and Texas. So I was born and raised there, and basically I had a track really nearby, and I started off going to the races there, and I was hooked ever since I was a little kid. I still remember the first race car I ever saw. My memory is so long. It must have been over like 25 years ago. It was a jet engine fire truck, and it had three jet engines. And it blasted fire, and I was so scared and excited at the same time. Ever since, I know it's not a legitimate race car, but in my mind, I just witnessed F5 tornado going by the track, and everybody was scared. So I just got into racing at a very young age. And my family was into racing. My brother would be racing at the tracks every weekend. So I had to learn the hard way and work on motors myself and try to go fast and every penny I had and trying to plan and prepare hard to run the fastest I could possibly do. And, as I got older, the progression got there. I noticed that, hey, I'm not the only one. There's people out there that do the same thing, but in a way faster level that I could only appreciate from afar. And this is my way of vicariously living through these racers. A part of me want to go that fast, but there's another part of me that says that's irresponsible. My wife was that. So it's a happy medium. I get to enjoy great racing, and at the good time, I'm happy. So it's a win-win,
Right. When you started out with all this, it seemed like you were just doing it for fun, and there was no plans on being a race promoter. But now that's changed drastically.
No, absolutely. I kind of did not go on that road, but at the same time, I wasn't going to wait and see, try to I would like. I truly believe that there are people that will enjoy this racing, and I truly believe that even yearly, they will enjoy it. You know, I truly believe no. But at the same time, be family friendly as well.
Right.
It's type of where take family and have the kids, meet racers, take pictures with them. I for once, I got a story about that actually. The racer that's coming over, Birdman, I took a picture of a young fan who's probably, say, around years old.
Let me interrupt you just real quick before you finish that story. Wherever you're standing right now, stop and don't move. Right now, your connection's great. we can hear you well right there. So you had the chance to take a picture with Birdman with a young fan.
Okay. Yeah, the young fan. What blew me away about this young fan was she actually made a Birdman shirt herself, and I could tell that she made it with her craft on it. They had fans car on it, and it looked really cute, and it said young fan. And it's like this. Amazing, right? What makes drag racing amazing is just the connection that we can relate to in a form of entertainment. And it's this entertainment value that is really hard to come by with your family. I think in an area where you feel safe at a drag strip or any racetrack, feel secure, and you want the racers to win. It could be your favorite racer, or it could not be your favorite racer, but you just want somebody to win.
Right.
And whoever doesn't win, you still root for the underdog. So it's one of those situations where you can't hate anybody, you don't wish bad on anybody, but it's such a positive atmosphere. And I'm not talking about no prep racing only, but I'm talking about drag racing in general. There is no better sport that you could participate with your family than drag racing. I truly believe this, and if people got on board and use drag racing as a form of stress relief or entertainment, I think everybody would be visiting racetracks all across the United States a lot more. You know,
he's got a great point right there, and it never occurred to me that the accuracy of what Mike just said. Guys on Facebook Live, we appreciate you watching. If you want to catch the rest of the show, we'll be on for another half hour or so over on fingerlakes1.tv. Appreciate you hanging out for a little bit, and hope to catch up with you again. We're on in 2 weeks. Again, the final round airs every other Thursday. We appreciate you watching and appreciate the shares. Thanks. So getting back to our conversation about what the fact that there's nobody that you really hate. Everybody that goes to a drag race just wants to see a really good race, pass after pass after pass. I can't really identify one person that you see this throng of fans that just outwardly hate, like Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson or Dale Earnhardt in Circle Track, or around here to get more locally. When you look at the dirt modifieds, people either love or hated Bob McCready or Alan Johnson or Danny Johnson or Brett Hearn. Drag racing doesn't, and maybe I'm too casual to it, but drag racing doesn't seem to have that group of people that just swears up and down against Ron Capps.
Yeah, that's generally true. I mean, you do see occasionally. I mean, everybody obviously has their favorites. I mean, it's really like any sport, but it's pretty rare that you have guys that are just universally hated. Let's call it, World Wrestling Federation style, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, to be perfectly honest, I think that whether or not it's true or not, I think the drag racing could use a little bit of that. I mean, if you have the rivalry, the good versus evil type of thing, I think it could potentially allow people to tune in and say, yeah, you know what, not only am I going to root for, let's call it John Force, but I'm going to root against the evil Ron Capps, right?
Right.
But, yeah, there really isn't much of that. And, at the track itself, if you start talking about local races, I mean, it's really amazing how much the racers help each other. And, yes, we're all all out there to compete and try to win, but we're also going to basically try and help our fellow competitor out when they need that help. It's really amazing. And another thing I want to touch on, Mike, that you mentioned, a lot of us, when we're out at Empire, Empire is my local home track, so when I'm out there competing, I'm not necessarily looking for, little kids to get them to, talk to them or get them to sit in my car or anything like that. But, that's the type of thing that it really makes an indelible impression upon young kids by taking just 30 seconds, essentially, and saying hi and, hey, you having fun? And, hey, you want to come sit in my car and have your picture taken? And I think that's one of the things with the no prep guys is that because they haven't, let's call it, they're not stars or paid professionals as far as drivers go. These guys are just your average, everyday, normal guys. Even if you watch Street Outlaws, obviously those guys, get a lot of TV exposure, but they all have their own shops and they're all still working on their own cars. So they're everyday, normal, blue-collar guys. And to have a little kid come up to you and have a shirt that has your name on it and be like, hey, I'm your number one fan, how humbling that has to be. And I know I've had a few kids ask for my autograph when I'm at the races, and it's like, really? You don't want my autograph? What the heck do you want my autograph for? But kids don't know. All they know is that you're at the track and you're a race car driver, and they think that's cool. And
right.
And again, here's Mike remembering from when he was a kid at the racetrack. It really goes a long, long way, and that's really the beauty of being able to go to events like this at not necessarily an NHRA or IHRA national event, because you can get around and you can get time with these guys, and that's pretty darn cool.
The reason that I kind of went with the names that we did is you could look at the big rivalry that was that were so prevalent in NHRA in the 70s. They had the touring series. The rivalry wasn't even necessarily a rivalry. It was more of a show.
Right.
So even then you still didn't see that just fervor of pro and for and against.
Right.
That even then it didn't happen. I didn't see anybody that wore a Don Garlitz shirt that was holding up a cardboard sign that said, "I hope Don Perdome crashes."
Right.
I'm sure there's people at Lancaster that root against John Pelican every week, but he's the only name that comes to mind. But
yeah, it really is amazing. And, the no prep, I will say that, Mike and Sarah, the no prep thing has always been interesting to me because I feel like to a certain extent that drag racers are, and I'm going to get beat up for saying this, but that drag racers in general are kind of a bunch of big whiners, right? We want to be able to go out to the track, and we want that track to be perfect, and we want to be able to throw as much power to it as we possibly can and basically have our car get down the track. And the no prep thing really takes it more down to, hey, who can tune their car the best to get down this track? It's not necessarily the guy that has the most power that's going to win. It's the guy who has a lot of power, sure, but it's also figuring out how to get that car down the track.
You bring up a really great point there, a very valid point actually, because no prep is a tuner's game, absolutely. And the tuning game, you start, which I believe no prep is more of a fan participation sport where fans are like, feeding sometimes to people, and one racer might think, oh my goodness, I need to turn up my car, and then he blows off the tires and doesn't win. Or sometimes he is smart enough, keeps his cool, and makes a to B pass just to win the race. So it's one of those things where you're not sure which racer's going to win depending on what they do.
Right.
And you're hoping that they do what you want them to do, which is always to go fast and straight. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen all the time, and that's what makes no prep kind of exciting.
And I think it really does make it exciting because from what I've noticed is, like Mike was saying, it's not the same person, and it's not the car that wins. And I think that's the reason why there are no times ever shown in no prep, because we're not worried about the time. We're worried about gets to the finish line first.
Right.
And so what we're you're looking at is like races a lot down here. They follow like a circuit. Like there's the Dirty South No Prep series, and
by Mike Murillo.
by Mike Murillo, and there's the Redemption series by Shannon Morgan. And so a lot of times we see matchups. But with no prep, just because one person has more horsepower than the other, it doesn't mean that it's going to have the same outcome every time.
Right.
It really depends on the track that they're racing at and the tune that they put in the car for that track. And like Mike said, if they make the fatal mistake and they put too much power and they overpower the track and blow off the tires. So it just makes it more interesting. And it's the playing field so that somebody that doesn't have like that high dollar team still has a chance to compete. So sometimes on no prep, the slower guy is the one that wins because he just looks better on the surface.
Right.
I got a story about that point, actually. We just came back from doing media at the King of Streets in Chicago. It's their 17th no prep, 17th no prep, and it's a highly successful series. If there's anybody out there who wants to learn about no prep and go to the best no prep you could possibly go, you would have to go to King of the Streets up in Union Dragway or Redemption Prep Series. When I went up there to the King of the Streets, I saw a Buick Regal. It was a 1984 Buick Regal on 22-inch wheels. I'm thinking to myself, this guy, I have no idea where he came from. I don't know why he's here. This is not a race car. This is embarrassing to myself and, to be honest. And then when I saw him take off, he did no burnout, by the way. He just literally lined up against a fast Mustang, Fox body Mustang, and he literally blew the doors off this Mustang. And I was thinking to myself, what did I just witness? This car is amazingly fast. Not only that, it fooled me. I felt really lied to here. This car on the surface wasn't what it was advertised. And that's no prep for you. That's King of the Streets, no prep. You don't know who's fast, and you're not judging the car by its looks or the driver by his looks. You're literally judging a no prep car and how fast they can get down the track. And not by the number, just by the sheer velocity of the car itself. And I thought it was so amazing. I got to speak to the driver briefly, and I was just blown away that it was a 5.3 turbo setup. And I was like, and he told me, you know what about this car? Believe it or not, it's not a race car. I drive it every day, and I just beat, the living hell out of it. French here. I just beat it every day. And it's my daily driver, and I put my groceries in the trunk, and I have a sound system in the back seat. So
that's crazy.
This is the unconventional part of no prep.
No prep. You're not allowed. You're not allowed all the bells and whistles, right? I mean, this is pretty pure form of drag racing. You don't have all the throttle stops and all the other stuff that we've talked about on other episodes of the show.
Right.
No, absolutely. It's an all-out heads-up race, except for the bracket or index classes. Sure. And the thing about it is, you're there and you don't witness something firsthand. It's one of those things that's a sight for sore eyes. It's just amazing that you could see something like that go so fast. Mm-hmm. And that's one example of the variety of cars that no prep cars are. So when the fans come over July 7 and 8 to Empire Dragway and they see these no prep cars coming from across the United States, they're going to see some weirdness in these cars. And when I say weird, I mean it in the most positive way. And you see turbo setups with piping that you would never imagine to be bent that way. Computer systems that are so sophisticated that they have the ability to navigate them out of the track if they needed to. I'm talking about knowledgeable blue-collar guys where you could go up to them and shake your hand and have a conversation about cars. And that's what the bottom line is. No Prep is about cars. If you're a fan of cars, come to a No Prep event. You will not only enjoy the thing, but at the end of the day, it's really the cars. It's the cars that make up No Prep. The cars are amazing. They're street-oriented. Stuff that the average viewer can possibly build in their own in certain classes, you know?
Right. Mike, I guess, one question that I guess, we really haven't touched on at all at this point is that, for the event out at Empire, so I know you guys just added the index classes, so we won't get into that at the moment, but, what classes are actually going to be running out at Empire, and I guess what's the schedule? I mean, I looked at the dates, and I think you're running July 7th through 9th, so that's obviously 3 days. So, what's the schedule? What are the classes? So what are people going to be able to expect? Or maybe we have people out there listening that are thinking about coming out and competing. What would they be able to compete in?
All right, so we have classes actually Friday or Saturday. Sunday is reserved as a rain date in case we aren't able to finish the program on Saturday or there's weather and we have to push it back.
Okay.
So on Friday we're running 4 different classes. The first class and one of the classes we're the most excited about is where the name came from, the Purge. And for those of you that are familiar with, like, the meaning of the Purge, it really means no rules, no law, no nothing. Because right now in No Prep, there's kind of a division between, big tire racing and what they consider pro mod racing.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys are up on that drama, but even
yes.
on the Street Outlaws show,
right.
They're kind of converting their cars back to right now the traditional door cars, more like steel factory body cars. So we created the Purge class because a lot of these no prep guys, they don't care what you run, and they just run the fastest guy out there and prove that I don't care if you have a pro mod, I'm going to take down the fastest guy that's here. And so we created the Purge class as a way to entice people that don't have, like, traditional big tire cars. Maybe they run a pro mod or something above that, and then they can run the big tire guys as well. So that class is running on Friday, and that is $5,000 to win with a $150 entry. And it's run what you brung. Really, no rules. It does have to be a car, obviously. No bikes or anything.
Right. We're
having BJ, the flagman from Street Outlaws New Orleans. He's going to be flagging that class for sure.
Yep.
So he's coming up on Friday, and let me tell you, he's been at several races. BJ's really a great guy. He'll take pictures with anybody that's there and talk to them. He's a real nice guy. So that should add a fun element to it also, because the flashlight start, that's another thing that kind of evens the playing field, because even if you have a faster car, you have to be quick on the light.
Right.
And, not everybody's really used to that flashlight start or instant green.
And that was, I would say that was one of the questions that I was going to ask was, on Street Outlaws, you watch the show, and they're doing the flashlight start. So are aside from the index classes, are all the classes going to be flagman or flashlight start race classes?
Not all of the classes, because we got to give BJ a break at some point. The index classes won't be. They'll be instant green, but probably the main classes will do the flashlight start on, and for sure the Purge on Friday night.
Okay.
On the driver meeting.
Yeah, we'll go over that all in the driver's meeting. But yeah, the index classes, they'll be instant green. We do have a 580 index class on Friday. Mm-hmm. It's $1,000 to win with a $50 entry. That was one of the ones that we kind of tweaked a little bit to fit the local racers after we realized, they really wanted somewhere to race. And our intention was always to include them. We want them to, all of you guys, to try out something new, but we also want it to be something that they feel comfortable with.
Sure.
So we tweaked our rules a little bit in the index class. And this is something that, we didn't sleep. We just stayed up all night and we're like, what can we do to make this work for these racers? Like, we want this to be the most positive experience that they've ever had, because the last thing we want is the first no preps are there, they're like, yeah, we got kicked out of our own track that we're at every week.
Right.
So we really tried to make it something that they could participate. So for all of the index classes, we are going to do 2 time trials. It is going to be instant green, so it adds something different. They're not going to have those amber lights.
Yep.
We're not going to show the times on the clock, because really to stay true to the no prep feel, we don't want the time shown.
Yeah.
But they get a time slip at the end.
Okay.
Other racers, if they're not running an index class, they don't get time slips either.
Yeah.
And then for the index classes, they just have to have door cars, and we are allowing the throttle stopped.
Right.
Based on the local feedback that we got from several local racers. We were, messaging people and calling people and talking to different ones. On Friday, our index class is the 580, but then on Saturday we added 4 index classes, the 60, 650, 70, 750. That way there's a variety of different classes that, everyone has a chance to participate. And even if they feel like they don't fit in one of those, we have other classes as well. On Friday night, we're also running a factory street class. And that class is really meant for cars that are mostly stock. So they have full interior, they have a stock block. And so it gives a person that has like more of a factory car that maybe runs a bracket or index class a chance to participate. And that one's $1,000 to win also, with just a $50 entry. And we tried to stay with like the entry fees on those classes that were similar to what y'all normally have on like a regular bracket racing program, just to,
Stay
true to what you guys do and
Sure.
make you feel welcome with what we're doing. We also on Friday have a bike sled class, which is $50 to enter. We've had a couple people interested in that one, and it's just a run what you brung, heads up. And then we do also on Friday have testing and grudge racing. But the way that works is if they're running in a class, besides the index class, they get their 2 time trials. If they're running in a class, they're not allowed to test before the class runs, because no prep is really meant to be like off the trailer.
Right.
So on Friday, the purge class, the factory street class, and the bike and sled class, those classes are not allowed to test or grudge before they run. But if somebody's running on Saturday and they're not running Friday, then they're welcome to test or grudge in between rounds if there's any downtime, or after we finish, if we finish early.
Okay. Now, one thing I saw, Sarah, that I thought was interesting on the index classes is that you were allowing call-outs for the first round of elimination in the index classes, right?
Yeah.
And is
that's correct.
And is that I mean, that's kind of an interesting little twist that, we don't, someone who's never no prep race, including myself, I've never had that. I couldn't imagine being at the track and being like, all right, I'm going up for first round and, having somebody come up to me and say, hey, so-and-so called you out, so that's who you're racing first round. I'd be like, what? I'm so used to just the random pairing thing. Now, is that true for the purge on Friday night as well?
The first round for all of the classes call-outs are allowed, but the way that it works is you have to accept the call out. So both parties have to agree to it in order. So I can't just say, oh, I'm calling you out, we're going to run. It has to be like, oh, I'm going to call you out, will you run me first round? But we do it at the drivers' meeting, and
it's really not a lot of drama.
Yeah.
You know, like on TV where they have a long discussion and argument.
Right.
If we've seen it at Redemption, the largest or one of the largest no prep series ever created by Shannon Morgan. We've been in those driver meetings, and they'll call out a street outlaw, and he'll kindly decline.
Yeah.
And there is no drama. They move on, and there is no discussion about it, and they just move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Interesting.
yeah.
So I mean, does money change hands in any of these call outs? I mean, are they talking about spotting each other car lengths, or is everybody starting from the same line every time, and there's no money changing hands in terms of the grudge portion of it?
Sometimes they put side bets on the call outs also.
Yeah.
And when we say side bets, maybe they'll, bet, like, I'll bet your, sleeves off your shirt like on TV,
Right.
Something silly, I'm more than sure that there's no illegal gambling going on.
Yeah.
We do not condone that.
But also the reason that they do the first round call outs is because a lot of guys, they're kind of on a team, It's like an unofficial team, but they race with the same people. They're friends with the same people. And when you do a random pairing, you don't want to call out randomly draw your best friend or your teammate in the first round. And so if you can do a call out and you get somebody else, then you at least don't have to line up next to your best friend in the first round. And
right.
Someone gets eliminated.
Like when we visited Empire last year for the Street Outlaws showed up, which, by the way, Empire has an incredible show the weekend right before ours. I strongly encourage everybody around the surrounding areas to check that show out. It's a great show that Empire puts up. I went to it last year, the Street Outlaw show. They had Daddy Dave race against Kamikaze, and they're both from the Street Outlaw shows, and I thought it was going to not be close, but, they gave each other a really great race, and I was blown away by the fan reaction and the warm welcome that the Street Outlaws got at that particular track was just electrifying. I literally walked the pits, and I could not even get to my car. I could not move. And all I saw was Daddy Dave taking the time all day, greeting the fans, taking pictures with fans, and in the middle of all that, racing his car.
Right.
That's what makes these moments worth it for the racers, I believe, and especially for anybody who's a fan of the sport. And I really believe that this no prep stuff, people can relate to these particular people.
One of the things that y'all were touching on a little bit earlier was like the rivalries in racing, and for everybody that watches the show Street Outlaws, I think that you see a lot of, kind of rivalry between different groups and people, and
JJ the Boss and Chief and Big Chief, right?
Rivalries on the show, and sometimes they do villainize like certain racers. And then we go to races and we meet these racers, and they're like some of the nicest kind of people, and we find out that it was just all for the show to, add some drama to it. And some of those racers are the ones that, take the most time out for their fans. Like Jackie Knox and Dave they've been good friends. And we saw Jackie Knox. He actually put one of his fans in the car and drove him around the parking lot at one of the races we went to.
That's cool.
Just amazing. I'm like,
who does that?
Mike was like, can I drive the car? Can I drive this?
It's an amazing experience, and I think that's why Empire does such a great job, and that's why I wanted to come to Empire as well. The staff at Empire are phenomenal. They were able to accommodate so many people and bring the street outlaws and bring attention to that particular area.
And still run their full bracket program with, like, how many cars? I don't know how many y'all have out there. 100, 200 cars? I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, 200 is that's a pretty good estimate, actually, and I think that may have been a tad optimistic to try and do that with all the people. It was incredible how many people were out there, but there's no doubt that the fans from this area, there's a lot of big racing fans, and I have no doubt that. When the Street Outlaw guys come back, and I'm not sure what the date is that they're having those guys come back, but, for that particular event and for your event as well, I think you're going to have a lot of fans showing up at the track those 2 weekends. I really expect the track to be packed, quite honestly, and we got to see. I mean, I have to say, like I said, the no prep racing to me has always been somewhat interesting, and I'm currently scheduled to be down in Pittsburgh for an IHRA race, but at the moment I'm really intrigued by everything that you guys are putting on, and we might have to have a discussion about maybe changing our plans and going out to Empire instead of going out to Pittsburgh.
Are we having a post race meeting?
Well, we might be. Yeah, we might be.
I already got the schedule pulled up on the computer at home. I figured we'd be back at it after our conversations tonight.
Right.
But just to give everybody the rundown on the activities that we're going to be seeing, let's start first with that Street Outlaw weekend on the 1st and 2nd. That's actually part of that 3-day weekend, right? The 30th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. So
that weekend was June 30th. July 1st, July 2nd, and I think they have something different going on every day with the Street Outlaws coming on that Sunday, July 2nd.
Right.
Yeah. I believe you're correct. Chris is over here wrestling with his microphone.
Okay, so on June the 30th, the 8th mile race, 1,000 to win, no points. Shootout race, 1,000 to win, box and no box. On Saturday the 1st, is 8th mile race, 1,000 to win, no points. Rick Ream, the Detailers, 1950s Studebaker Wheel Stander. Jim Brewer and the Peacemaker, the 1933 Willys Wheel Stander. Jim Izzo, the Wheel Stander, and the Handyman Express. The fireworks display. Empire Outlaws are running 2 classes plus the band, playing from 9 p.m. to 1. That's Gemini. It's the music that you want to hear. No rap, no headbanging, just good old rock and roll. That's right up Jason's alley, actually. That's all the things he likes to hear. And then we move into Sunday, July the 2nd. It's another 8th mile shootout 1,000 to win event. The 470 Thunder is on hand. Street Outlaws, Daddy Dave, Jeff Lutz, Ryan Martin, James Goad, he's the Reaper, Andy Jensen bringing 2 cars to be part of that one. Then we fast forward to Friday the 7th. That's the first leg of the Purge No Prep Shootout presented by National No Prep Racing Association and the Northern Racing Unlimited Group, with special guest appearances from Street Outlaws, Plan B, Birdman, the 55, and more. Classes include the Purge, which is the run which you brung, the bike and the sled class, the 580 index class, and then testing and grudge racing. To get more information on this, you can get a hold of Mike, OC, gentleman that we're talking to tonight, 956-624-6508, 956-624-6508. Saturday, the program includes more No Prep Shootout racing, presented again by the National No Prep Racing Association and the Northern Racing Unlimited Group. Special guest appearances from Plan B, the Birdman, the 55, and more. Big tire, small tire, True Street, Factory Street. All classes are going to be running. Variety of index classes. For more information, again, get a hold of Mike. Sunday reserved as a rain date only, or unless everything can't be completed through the course of Saturday. So there you have it. I mean, there's conversation need to be had about this. I was just telling you how far we could reach. I mean, it sounds like everything's happening within range of what we can do.
Oh, it'd be it's definitely going to be
just one day.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be a big deal. And I have to say, like I said, I'm real intrigued. I definitely want to see this event, and I'd be real interested to see. And honestly, I don't know if any of the Street Outlaw guys that are coming the week before, if any of them are planning on staying over. But, the thing that's pretty amazing about the program that you guys are putting on is the fact that the payouts are extremely good. So it would seem like I wouldn't be surprised if one of them, especially like Daddy Dave, who's from the area, if he didn't decide to stay the extra week to potentially try and pocket himself, $5,000 or $10,000 while he was up here.
Why not?
Right.
Why
Absolutely.
Why not?
I mean, I would.
That would be cool. Well, guys, I told you when we talked earlier tonight that that the hour was going to go by fast, and I wasn't going to lie to you and tell you that we were going to try and cap it at 30 minutes. We've blown through our hour that fast. Rest assured that we're going to be doing this again. We got it. There's tons more questions. We've got more time that we got to think about things too, and just process everything that we heard. It sounds like a very, very pure form of drag racing. It's easy for a casual fan to sit in the stands and know who won and who lost, and they're not worrying about dial times and anything like that. And the cars are you never know what you're going to get. Just that story about the Regal has me intrigued. And you guys got some good stuff going, and you're working with the right people in terms of keeping this thing going forward. I wish you the best. I wish you the best of luck up there at Empire, and look forward hopefully to meeting you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having us over.
You bet.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
For sure, we'll be doing it again because there's a whole lot more that we're gonna go back to the drawing board tonight. We're gonna have a whole lot more questions for you when we talk again. This is excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. Be sure to keep in touch. Let us know.
See if we can get them on there.
That sounds great. We'll
next time.
Awesome. We'll be sure to keep in touch. Let us know how the racing's going down there in your neck of the woods, and we'll see you in a couple weeks when you get up here to Empire.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks again.
Take care.
There goes Mike and Sarah, OC, with the owner and CEO of the National No Prep Racing Association. Jason, any quick final thoughts? That was a quick one, man.
Oh, it was very quick. A lot of information to process there, no doubt. I had so many questions that barely touched on. So, and I know when I talked to Mike earlier today on the phone, very quickly, he mentioned that he'd like to try and get potentially some of the drivers from the National No Prep Association on with us too. And I'd love to do that. So hopefully we can arrange that here.
We can coordinate that somehow, even if we all met at. I got to check the schedule. Well, we'll check it later. But they're racing Friday. If we went up there on Thursday and did what we did before in the tower.
In the suite, right? Yep.
In the suite.
Yep.
And then turn around and maybe we'll talk about more. I'm excited, man. Those guys, I like everything they were talking about, how they've got rid of a lot of the technologies and stuff, and it's racing, man.
It's definitely cool.
I like it. Well, what do you think?
I think that was a pretty good hour.
I think that was a fast one. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. Final round is on every other week here on Figure Lakes 1. Next Thursday is going to be the 31st lap. I just mentally go through and make sure we're still going to be in town. Next week's the 31st lap, and of course, Crash Course airs every Monday here on Figure Lakes 1. TV. Hope you enjoyed the Facebook Live. I don't know how good the audio was, but if you hit the links that are in the post subsequent to it, you can find the whole rebroadcast of the show. That's going to do it for us here from the FingerLakes1.com studios in the North Park building here at Academy Square on Cayuga Street. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.
I think that's the littlest that